Did you know that in a recent national survey, nearly 30% of Americans admitted they have no retirement savings at all? Think about that for a second. Almost 1 in 3 people are heading toward a future where financial freedom is out of reach. Not because they didn't work hard, but because they never built the habits to make their money work for them. That single statistic is more than a number, it's a wake-up call. The truth is, wealth isn't built on luck or lottery tickets, and it doesn't require a 6-figure salary. Some of the wealthiest people you've never heard of aren't celebrities or billionaires. They're ordinary men and women who quietly mastered the art of consistent money habits. Small, repeatable actions done over years have the power to turn modest incomes into lifelong wealth.
And here's the part most people miss. Building wealth isn't about chasing money, it's about controlling it. When you decide how every dollar is spent, saved, and invested, you stop being a victim of financial stress and start becoming the architect of your future. I've seen this truth play out both in research and in real life. Study after study confirms it. Disciplined money behaviors, not sudden windfalls, separate those who live paycheck to paycheck from those who retire comfortably. And in my own experience, the turning point wasn't when I earned more, it was when I started treating money as a tool, not a trophy. So here's the thesis that will shape everything we're about to cover. Lifelong wealth is not an event. It's the outcome of intentional, disciplined money habits that compound over time. Adopt these habits, and you'll transform your future from one of financial anxiety to one of abundance and freedom. Ignore them, and you'll stay stuck in the cycle of stress, always wondering why you can't get ahead. This isn't theory, this is the playbook. Long before Wall Street traders and financial gurus, the ancients were already grappling with the question of what it means to live well and prosper. Their answers weren't about stock tips or side hustles, they were about mindset, self-control, and clarity. And surprisingly, those ancient lessons align perfectly with the money habits that still build lifelong wealth today. The Stoics, led by thinkers like Epictetus and Marcus Aurelius, believed in the power of controlling what is within your reach and letting go of what isn't. A market crash? A job loss? Those events are beyond your control. But your spending, saving, and investing habits? Those are entirely yours. Epictetus once wrote, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." That single line is as relevant now as it was 2,000 years ago. Wealth isn't about chasing every shiny object. It's about mastering your desires, practicing temperance, and living with enough. A Stoic millionaire would be the one who quietly saves, invests steadily, and keeps lifestyle inflation at bay, no matter how much their income grows. Then came the Epicureans, often misunderstood as hedonists, but in reality, champions of simplicity and peace of mind. Epicurus warned that excessive material possessions do not bring joy, but instead pile on anxiety. True wealth, he taught, lies in moderation, meaningful friendships, and investing in oneself. Imagine Epicurus today, he wouldn't be drowning in credit card debt for a luxury car. He'd be spending wisely on his health, on good food, on books, and on nurturing relationships. For him, money was never about showmanship. It was about freedom from stress and the cultivation of happiness in things that actually last. And then there's Thales of Miletus, often called the first philosopher and, in many ways, the first financial strategist. When mocked for his lack of wealth, Thales used his foresight to predict a strong olive harvest. He leased every olive press in advance, cornered the market, and made a fortune. His story is more than a clever anecdote. It's proof that wealth comes from foresight, planning, and the courage to act when opportunities arise. In modern terms, Thales was showing us the roots of strategic financial planning: anticipate, prepare, and leverage knowledge into prosperity. Taken together, these ancient voices reveal a truth we often forget. The psychology of wealth is timeless. It's not about flashy possessions or sudden windfalls. It's about controlling your desires, finding fulfillment in moderation, and planning ahead with vision. The ancients remind us that financial freedom starts not in our wallets, but in our minds. Every fortune, no matter how vast, begins with a single decision: to control where your money goes instead of letting it control you. It may sound simple, even dull, but intentional spending and budgeting are the true bedrock of wealth. Without them, even the largest paycheck can slip through your fingers, leaving you with little to show for years of effort. The data makes the case clear. People who track their expenses and commit to a budget are significantly more likely to reach their financial goals than those who don't. The logic is straightforward. Clarity breeds control. When you see exactly where your dollars are flowing, whether it's groceries, rent, or those late-night impulse buys, you gain the power to redirect money toward your future, rather than watching it disappear unnoticed. Interestingly, some of the sharpest budgeters are those who grew up with very little. Psychologists call it a supernatural awareness of cash flow. For families living paycheck to paycheck, every penny is accounted for, every expense carefully weighed. While born out of necessity, this acute awareness often becomes a lifelong financial superpower. People who master it early learn to see money not as something to spend recklessly, but as something to allocate, protect, and multiply. Building this habit doesn't require complicated spreadsheets or advanced math. It begins with simple, consistent practices. Track every dollar for a month, and you'll be surprised by how much of your income leaks away unnoticed. Delay non-essential purchases for 24 hours, and you'll find that the urge to buy often fades. Adopt a straightforward budgeting framework, like the 50-30-20 rule: 50% to needs, 30% to wants, and 20% to savings and investments, and you'll discover that simplicity is what makes the system sustainable. As Joe Biden once said, "Don't tell me what you value. Show me your budget, and I'll tell you what you value." Your spending is a mirror reflecting your priorities back at you. If your budget reveals endless restaurant meals but no savings, it's quietly announcing that convenience today matters more to you than freedom tomorrow. True wealth does not begin with million-dollar investment strategies. It begins with the modest daily act of telling your money where to go instead of wondering where it went. This is the unglamorous habit that builds the foundation for everything else. One of the simplest yet most powerful wealth habits is also the one most often ignored: paying yourself first. It sounds like common sense, but the truth is sobering. Surveys consistently reveal that nearly 1/3 of Americans have no retirement savings at all. Too many people treat saving as an afterthought, something they'll do when there's money left over. But here's the reality: there's almost never money left over. Bills, lifestyle creep, and unexpected expenses always seem to consume every dollar. Millionaires flip this equation on its head. Instead of saving what remains, they save first and spend second. The Rich Habits study of self-made millionaires found that the majority consistently saved at least 20% of their net income, treating it as a non-negotiable expense. They made saving just as essential as paying rent or utilities. This mindset shift from optional to automatic is what transforms savings into wealth. Benjamin Franklin captured this timeless truth perfectly. A penny saved is a penny earned. Every dollar you redirect toward your future isn't just a dollar. It's the seed of 10 more down the line. Consider the case of Grace Groner, a secretary who earned a modest salary for decades. She lived frugally, saved diligently, and invested automatically. By the time she passed away, her savings had quietly grown into a fortune of over $7 million, which she donated to charity. Grace never won the lottery, never owned a business empire, and never commanded a CEO's paycheck. Her secret was simply paying herself first and letting compounding do the rest. Wealth doesn't come from grand gestures. It comes from ordinary people making the extraordinary choice to secure their future before spending on today. Pay yourself first, and your future self will thank you. If money habits build the foundation of wealth, learning is the fuel that keeps it growing. Millionaires understand that their most valuable asset is not a stock portfolio, a business, or even a bank account. It's their mind. And that mind must be continuously sharpened. Research confirms this. One well-known study found that 88% of millionaires read for at least 30 minutes every single day, but not for entertainment. They read with purpose, focusing on personal development, business, and biographies of other successful people. The wealthy are, above all, students of life. They recognize that the world is constantly changing, and those who stop learning fall behind. This is why so many of them replace idle scrolling or passive entertainment with active learning. A book on investing, a podcast about entrepreneurship, a biography of a leader who overcame great odds, these aren't just stories. They are lessons and strategies waiting to be applied. In practice, this habit can be simple. Commit to reading just 10 pages a day, and in a year, you'll have read more than a dozen books that can completely reframe how you see money and opportunity. If you commute, turn your car into a rolling classroom with educational podcasts or audiobooks. And perhaps most importantly, surround yourself with people who are financially savvy, curious, and forward-thinking. Learning is contagious, and being in the right environment accelerates growth. Jim Rohn, the legendary business philosopher, summed it up perfectly. Formal education will make you a living. Self-education will make you a fortune. Schools may teach us to earn a paycheck, but self-directed learning is what teaches us to build lasting wealth. One of the most striking case studies of this principle is Warren Buffett. Despite being one of the richest men in the world, Buffett still spends 5 to 6 hours every day reading. He devours company reports, business news, and books, constantly expanding his knowledge base. When asked about his secret, Buffett once held up a stack of papers and said, "Read 500 pages like this every day. That's how knowledge works. It builds up like compound interest." His empire wasn't built overnight. It was built page by page, habit by habit, over decades of learning. Wealth, in the truest sense, belongs to the learner. If you make lifelong learning part of your daily routine, you don't just increase your chances of becoming rich, you guarantee that once you get there, you'll know how to stay rich. If saving is the seed, investing is the soil that makes wealth grow. Too often, people rely only on their savings accounts, where money grows at a snail's pace, barely keeping up with inflation. Compare that to the stock market, where the S&P 500 has historically returned about 10% annually over the long term. That difference is staggering. $1,000 sitting in a savings account might crawl upward, but invested wisely, it compounds into life-changing sums. Millionaires know this. They don't just save, they invest. The key is to make investing simple and consistent. You don't need to be a Wall Street genius to start. In fact, most wealthy individuals advocate for straightforward, low-cost, diversified index funds. An S&P 500 ETF, for example, gives you a slice of America's 500 largest companies in a single purchase. This is not flashy investing. It's patient investing, letting time and compounding do the heavy lifting. Understanding the role of debt is just as important. The wealthy distinguish between good debt and bad debt. A mortgage on a home or an investment property that appreciates in value. That's good debt. It builds wealth. High-interest credit card balances on consumer purchases? That's bad debt. It destroys wealth. Knowing the difference and acting accordingly is one of the quiet secrets behind financial independence. Perhaps the most powerful mindset shift is captured in Warren Buffett's famous words, "The stock market is a device for transferring money from the impatient to the patient. The rich don't jump in and out of the market chasing fads or trying to predict crashes. They buy, they hold, and they let compounding do its quiet, magical work." Imagine two people. One invests $500 a month starting at age 25, the other waits until 35 to begin. Even though both invest the same monthly amount, by retirement age, the first will have nearly double the wealth. Why? Not because of luck, but because of the simple discipline of starting early and staying consistent. Smart investing isn't gambling, it's building. And the earlier you adopt this habit, the more you give your money the one ingredient it craves most: time. Building wealth is only half the battle. Protecting it is just as important. Imagine working for years to build financial stability, only to see it wiped out by a single medical bill, a sudden job loss, or an unforeseen accident. Sadly, this is not a rare story. According to recent surveys, nearly 40% of Americans would struggle to cover a $400 emergency expense. That statistic alone reveals why asset protection isn't a luxury. It's a necessity. The first line of defense is an emergency fund. Think of it as your personal insurance policy against life's surprises. Financial experts recommend saving 3 to 6 months' worth of living expenses, tucked away in an easily accessible account. This fund acts as a cushion, preventing you from sliding into debt when unexpected costs arise, whether it's a broken transmission, a hospital stay, or an unexpected layoff. Millionaires may have bigger bank accounts, but the principle is the same. Prepare for the worst so you can keep moving toward the best. Insurance is another pillar of wealth protection. Health insurance shields you from catastrophic medical bills. Life and disability insurance ensure your loved ones and your income are protected if the unthinkable happens. While these payments may feel like a burden in the short term, they are in reality a safety net, allowing you to take calculated risks and build wealth without the constant fear of losing everything. For families, estate planning cannot be overlooked. A simple will or estate plan ensures that your assets are distributed according to your wishes, not left tangled in legal disputes. Wealthy individuals know that protecting assets is not just about numbers, it's about safeguarding a legacy. Robert Kiyosaki captured this truth perfectly. It's not about how much you make, but how much you keep. The millionaires who stay wealthy are not necessarily the ones who earn the most, but the ones who build shields around their wealth. Protecting what you have is the quiet habit that ensures your financial empire stands strong, no matter what storms come your way. Money habits aren't just about numbers on a spreadsheet, they're about the quality of your life and the legacy you leave behind. Each small decision compounds into a future reality that either keeps you chained to financial stress or frees you to live with peace, purpose, and possibility. For many people, money is the single biggest source of stress. Studies show that financial worries consistently rank as one of the leading causes of anxiety, sleep loss, and even relationship breakdowns. Living paycheck to paycheck, dreading the next bill, or fearing an unexpected emergency can make life feel like a treadmill you can never step off. But disciplined money habits flip that script. When you budget intentionally, build an emergency fund, and invest consistently, stress begins to lift. Instead of lying awake at night wondering if you'll make rent, you rest knowing you've built a buffer. Financial discipline doesn't just build wealth, it buys peace of mind. True wealth isn't about luxury cars or designer watches, it's about choices. An emergency fund gives you the courage to quit a toxic job because you know you can survive the transition. Investments give you the option to retire early or take a sabbatical to pursue a passion project. Having money set aside for the long term lets you say yes to opportunities and no to compromises that don't align with your values. As one popular saying goes, financial freedom is the ability to live life on your own terms. These habits don't just give you money, they give you time, autonomy, and freedom, the things most people crave far more than a bigger paycheck. When you first start building wealth, there's often a profound shift in mindset. You stop being a consumer, and you start thinking like an investor. Instead of spending money to impress people or chase temporary highs, you begin to view every dollar as a seed. Some seeds you plant in the stock market, others go into real estate, education, or a side business. Over time, those seeds grow into trees that bear fruit year after year. This mindset shift is what separates those who live in cycles of spending from those who build wealth that multiplies on its own. Finally, good money habits extend far beyond your own lifetime. They ripple outward, shaping your family and even future generations. There's an old saying, the first earns it, the second enjoys it, the third destroys it. This captures the fragility of generational wealth. Without intentional habits, money can vanish in a single generation. But when you model financial discipline, teach your children the value of saving, and create structures like trusts or estate plans, you can break that cycle. Your wealth becomes more than money. It becomes a foundation for opportunity, education, and security that your children and grandchildren can build upon. Wealth is not a lottery ticket. It's not about luck, sudden windfalls, or chasing the next big thing. The truth is much simpler. Wealth is built on habits. Habits of intentional spending that align your money with your values. Habits of paying yourself first, letting compound interest quietly but powerfully work in your favor. Habits of lifelong learning, because financial literacy is a skill that grows sharper the more you practice it. Habits of smart, patient investing instead of speculation. And habits of protecting what you've earned so that one crisis doesn't undo years of progress. It doesn't take perfection. Nobody gets every decision right. What it takes is consistency. As Dave Ramsey put it, you must gain control over your money, or the lack of it will forever control you. The people who build lifelong wealth are not necessarily the smartest or the luckiest. They are simply the most disciplined. They show up day after day, choosing habits that serve their future instead of sabotaging it. And that brings us to you. Your financial freedom doesn't begin tomorrow or next year. It begins today, with one small step. Maybe it's automating a $25 transfer to savings every payday. Maybe it's tracking your expenses for just 1 week. Maybe it's reading the first chapter of a finance book instead of scrolling social media before bed. These are not monumental acts, but they are the seeds of transformation. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. So take yours today. Don't just dream of wealth. Stack the habits that create it. Your future self, your family, and even generations after you will thank you.